Good morning, everyone. All right, we're going to start our webinar today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and respected colleagues. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And welcome to today's webinar initiated by the National Research and Innovation Agency, or BRIN, in collaboration with Yayasan Konservasi Alam Indonesia Alam Nusantara YEKAN. My name is Rahma Alia, and I will be the guide for the three-day webinar titled From Science to Policy, Tropical Peatlands as a Key Role in Mitigating Climate Change. So it's going to be a very fruitful three-day webinar, hopefully. Now, before starting our discussion today, let me welcome the speakers as well as the experts who've joined virtually. Good morning. I would like to say good morning to Dr. Sasa Sofian Munawar, Acting Chairman of Research Organization for Life Sciences and Environment from BRIN, who will represent Dr. Iman Hidayat as Chairman of Research Organization for Life Sciences and Environment, BRIN. Good morning, Dr. Sasa. It's great to see you and have you here today.
Good morning, Alia Rahma. Thank you.
Yes. All right. So Dr. Sasa is here, and now I'd like to also welcome Dr. Anang Setiawan Ahmadi, Head of Research Center for Ecology and Ethnobiology from BRIN as well. Good morning, Dr. Anang. Great to have you here.
Good morning, Alia Rahma.
Yes, good morning to you too. Okay, and next, let's also welcome Professor Dr. Haruni Krishnawati, researcher at Research Center for Ecology and Ethnobiology from BRIN. Good morning, Dr. Haruni.
Morning, Alia.
Prof. Haruni. Hi, it's good to see you again, Professor.
Thank you.
Yes, and also I'd like to welcome Mr. Agus Yasin, SHUT MSE, Head of Working Group on Restoration Technique from BRGM. Good morning, Mr. Agus. And also I'd like to welcome Insinyur Wahyudi Wardoyo MSc from Terrestrial Program Senior Advisor Yayasan Konservasi Alam Nusantara. Very good morning to you, Mr. Wahyudi Wardoyo.
Morning, Alia.
Hi. And also, the last but not least, Dr. Nisa Novita, Forest, Carbon and Climate Senior Manager from YEKAN. Good morning to you, Mbak Nisa.
Good morning, Miss Alia. Thank you.
Hi. I hope everyone is doing great today, and would like to also greet everyone who has taken the time to join this morning. So hopefully you're ready with your coffee next to you, and let's start this webinar right now. Just a little bit of background. The three-day discussion activity is part of the commemoration of World Biodiversity Day, which falls on May the 22nd every year. And this year, the theme for commemorating World Biodiversity Day is From Agreement to Action, Build Back Biodiversity. Now, biological diversity resources are the pillars upon which build civilizations. Loss of biodiversity threatens all, including our health. Known as a biodiversity hotspot, Indonesia plays an important role in protecting its biological wealth. Now, 1/3 of the world's tropical peatlands are found in Indonesia. Its area covers about 7% of Indonesia's land area. Not only being a home for high biodiversity, this ecosystem also plays an important role as a carbon sequestration. Now, based on a study by Natural Climate Solutions in 2022 led by YEKAN, peat ecosystems contribute up to 74% of total mitigation potential from all NCS pathways in Indonesia. Unfortunately, though, peat is still often unappreciated as an important strategy in climate change mitigation efforts, and more than half of the total peatland in Indonesia is degraded. So the question would be, what steps needed to be taken to encourage the protection and restoration of peat ecosystems in Indonesia? What is the potential of peat ecosystems in climate change mitigation strategies in Indonesia and globally? These matters will definitely be dissected within the next 3 days, starting today until Wednesday the 17th, 2023. And this webinar is part of the process of disseminating the results of a study conducted by BRIN and YEKAN regarding the potential of tropical peat in climate change and mitigation efforts. So the 3-day webinar session will present national and foreign experts who will present the results of the latest studies on tropical peatland ecosystems in the global realm, Indonesia, and in particular, Kalimantan. Lessons learned from the fire management and tropical peat restoration, and how the results of the study used are the basis for the climate change mitigation policies, both in Indonesia and in other countries. And as the opening theme of the webinar on the first day session, today's discussion raises the issue of greenhouse gas accounting and restoration in tropical peatlands. All right, I've said enough as the beginning. Now, before we start the discussion, we would like to welcome Dr. Sasa Sofian Munawar, Acting Chairman of Research Organization for Life Sciences and Environment of BRIN, to convey his remarks. But before that, I will invite you to see this following video. All right, so we've seen the video, and now without further ado, let's invite Acting Chairman of Research Organization for Life Sciences and Environment from BRIN, Dr. Sasa Sofian Munawar. Take it away, Dr. Sasa.
Thank you, Alia. So, Honorable Terrestrial Program Senior Advisor Yayasan Konservasi Alam Nusantara, Bapak Wahyudi Wardoyo, Honorable Invited Speakers, distinguished participant, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. I'm pleased to welcome you all to this international webinar on tropical peatland. The topic of our webinar is From Science to Policy, Tropical Peatland as Key Role in Mitigation Climate Change. So, the webinar will be held from today until 17 May 2023. We have an exciting lineup of speakers from Indonesia and other countries who will share their knowledge, experience, and expertise on these important issues. As you know, that the tropical peatland is a unique and valuable ecosystem that is characterized by accumulation of the thick layer of peat consisting of decomposed plant material. The tropical peatland ecosystem in Indonesia has important role in climate mitigation, home to rich biodiversity, provides various environmental services and livelihood source for local communities. Despite its benefits, peatland have experienced massive threats due to rapid land use conversion. Peat fires and decomposition have been known to have a significant contribute to Indonesian greenhouse gas emission. So, according to the recent National Greenhouse Gas Inventory, the peatland ecosystem contribute to more than 50% of the total emission from forestry and other land use sectors. Therefore, protecting and restoring peatland is key to reducing greenhouse gas emission to support the achievement of Indonesian nationally determined contribution or NDC target. Additionally, peat degradation also affects the environmental quality, bringing negative effect of human health and disrupting the economy. This highlight the urgency of addressing peatland conservation and climate through science and policy. So BRIN, as the National Research and Innovation Agency of Republic of Indonesia, plays a total role to play in this endeavor. So expertise and knowledge from BRIN's researches are essential in identifying best practices, developing innovative solutions, and implementing effective strategies to tackle these issues. By connecting and implementing by connecting science to policy, we can also ensure that our findings and recommendations are translated into meaningful actions that can help to safeguard our tropical peatland. This webinar is an important platform to share knowledge, identify gaps, and explore opportunities for collaboration to improve peatland science and strengthen policy related to peatland protection. Through collaboration, we can achieve more than working alone, creating long-lasting solutions that can benefit society, the environment, and the future generation. This webinar is also part of the celebration of the International Day of Biology Diversity, which we will be inaugurate on May 22. Biodiversity underpins all life and provide vital benefits to our society and economies. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development places a strong emphasis on biodiversity for achieving this goal global, and Indonesia has made strides forward. President Joko Widodo officially issued Presidential Decree Number 1/2023 concerning mainstreaming biodiversity in sustainable development. The International Day of Biodiversity reminds us of the need to protect and conserve the rich biodiversity and ecosystem of our planet, including tropical peatland. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Yayasan Konservasi Alam Nusantara for working together to hold this webinar. I would also like to extend our appreciation to the prominent speakers who have agreed to share their knowledge and insight with us. I hope that this webinar will be fruitful and informative, and it will lead to opportunities for collaboration and partnership in the future that can help us in our shared goal of protecting and restoring our tropical peatland. As we you all a productive and engaging discussion. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Sofian Munawar, for the welcoming remarks or the opening remarks. And we still have next to welcome Mr. Wahyudi Wardoyo as the Senior Advisor for YEKAN Terrestrial Program to also convey his remarks. So, Mr. Wahyudi Wardoyo, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Alia. Dr. Sofian Munawar from BRIN, distinguished participants, speakers, audiences, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and probably good evening for our colleagues from US. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. On behalf of YECAN, we are very pleased to be able to welcome you all on these 3 days of international webinar discussing peatlands issues comprising science, policy, implementation, and collaboration work with our important partners. Yayasan Konservasi Alam Nusantara, or YECAN, a main partner of the Nature Conservancy in Indonesia, has been working with BRIN, Badan Riset and Inovasi Nasional, National Research and Innovation Agency, on our natural climate solution study in Indonesia. This study shows this higher importance of peatlands conservation and restorations. Indonesia, YECAN has been working as a conservation partner with the government, the community, and the private sectors for more than 25 years. With the basis of science, YECAN has been putting efforts to help protect biodiversity on terrestrial and ocean ecosystem, to manage natural resources, and also climate change adaptation and mitigation, conserving and restoring Kalimantan peatlands in one of our main strategies to support. Thank you to our donors, Pesos Earth Fund and the Nature Conservancy, for making the peatland science projects and the webinar possible. I would like to take this opportunity to comment on our partner BRIN once again, and hope to have a great collaboration in the future as our partner for implementing our peatlands conservation and restoration efforts in Kalimantan. I also would like to thank Professor Haruni Krishnawati from BRIN, Mr. Agus Yasin from PRGM, Dr. Isar Albar from Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Professor Gusti Ansari from Tanjung Pura University, Dr. Andres Smith from Oregon State University, and Dr. Alison Hiot from Stanford University, Dr. Alex Kopp from Singapore MIT Alliance as our partner, all speakers on the Peatlands Natural Climate Solution projects on this 3 days webinar. This workshop will focus on talking about importance of tropical peatlands. This is not just another scientific task. It is where policymakers, entrepreneurs, business people, and civil society come together in partnerships. In this webinar, the speaker and panelists will explore a wide range of topics on tropical peatlands, from the ground measurements of greenhouse gas emission monitoring, carbon stocks, laboratory analysis, modeling on climate and fires, and conservation efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, let me once again thank you, fantastic speakers, for giving their time and insight for 3 days webinar. And I hope all of you enjoyed the conference. I look forward to engaging and fruitful discussion in this webinar as we seek. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Wahyudi Wardoyo, for the remarks. So we've heard of how the remarks are very much stating that this is a collaboration, not only that it is the policy making and also the research that have been done, but as well as important is the implementation. So for that, let us now carry on with the next agenda for today. We will start the presentation session with Dr. Anang Setiawan Ahmadi as Head of Research Center for Ecology and Ethnobiology, or the PREE, or maybe we should say PRE instead of PREE, the National Research and Innovation Agency from BRIN, who will present the topic Peatlands and Carbon Ecological Research Scope of RCEE Research Center for Ecology and Ethnobiology to support enhanced NDC. For that, the time is yours, Dr. Anang Setiawan Ahmadi.
Thank you very much, Alia, for the time. And good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to say good morning, Pak Wahyudi Wardoyo, the Honorable Terrestrial Program Senior Advisor, Yayasan Konservasi Alam Nusantara, and the honorable invited speakers for the next 3 days, and also the distinguished participants. And this morning, I would like to share an overview about the ecological research scope that my research center dealing with in the next maybe 5 years or maybe more. So today I would like to present. Is it already my presentations? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone view my presentations not right now? Just to check. Alia?
Yes, we can
Okay,
see. We can
thank you
see very
very much.
clearly, Dr. Anang.
Okay, thank you
Yes.
very much. So yeah, this morning I would like to present the peatland and carbon, which is from the ecological research scope of a research center for ecology and ethnobiology, especially to support the enhanced NDC or national determined contributions, which is maybe right now so this is about a new paradigm of global challenges right now. So we been, I think, already know that from the Rio de Janeiro 1992, that's the first the Rio Earth Summit, which is these issues rising. And then I think next to Kyoto 2005, and then New York 2015, and then afterward the Paris Agreement, and then the last is about Montreal is the Global Biodiversity Framework, which is the items is for goals with 23 targets. So first about the reducing threats to biodiversity, meeting people's needs through a sustainable use and benefit sharing, and tools and solution for implementation. So, and then also continued with that, we also consider about the presidential instruction number 1, 2023 about the mainstreaming biodiversity, which is on 22 we have to celebrate the International Biodiversity Day. So from here, regulations, we try to engage all the stakeholder. We try to invite all the stakeholder, which is can be contribute to support this regulation. So, and then after that, so also the new NDC, enhanced NDC, like the number of percentages rising into 31 to 8 with the conditional, and 43 to 3% unconditional of need an international contribution. So from this issue, the GHG emission reduction scheme, so Indonesia decided towards the net zero emission 2060. So from this document, we know that there are at least six topics. So, and from the RCEE, we took the follow or the forestry and other land use to support these the contributions into follow net sales. So from there, so we know that from the economic value and potential for carbon trading, watershed, biodiversity conservation, also etc. So from that, we decided to focus on several topics. So here, I think Pak Sasa already mentioned previously, the BRIN as a national research and innovation agency plays important roles in the science and policy interface. So BRIN has a salience, credibility, legitimacy to bridge research, assessment, and policy making. So the Research Center for Ecology and Ethnobiology focusing on the Center for Science-Based Policy towards Sustainable Research and Innovation on Climate Change, Ecosystem, and its management. So here our new research scope. So how we focusing on three main topics. First, to support the forestry and other land use, carbon net sink, which is we support with at least we have 14 research groups here and supported by at least more than 200 researchers in Indonesia. And the second topic is how to support the regulation or the topics about the invasive alien species, and also the last is about acquisition of traditional knowledge. So we try to give an update about the modern ecological methods or technology. Here we use at least maybe the eDNA, deploying sensor and field ecological devices, and also remote sensing such as LIDAR, etc. The expected output from this research scope is related with the climate resilience ecosystem, national management models for reducing the establishment of IAS, and also implementation model for climate change mitigation and carbon sink, and local wisdom for carbon management at ecosystem level, and carbon baseline and dynamic time series data. So this is also the scenario to support the follow sector. So how we contribute at least the achievement of the long-term low carbon and climate resilience strategy with 2060 at least net zero emissions or sooner. So here we try to support from some of the research topic, how we contribute with the sustainable forest management, enhancement of the carbon stock and conservations, and also the management of the peatland ecosystem and information, and also to provide the database, especially related with the carbon storage, etc. So here the scenario. So we follow what the international call it the nature-based solution concept. From this concept, we combine conservation, biodiversity, climate change, and social into one concept, which is from that concept we can provide the data related with the carbon, the flora species, the non-timber production, the fauna species, ecotourism, microbes, traditional knowledge, and also the hydrology. So from that assessment, hopefully we can investigate, or we can determine related with the ecosystem health index in one or two sample sites. So here we support from the environmental pillars. There are 6, from number 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, and 15 of the SDGs, and also from the social pillars, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8. So here's some one of the samples that we've been conducted by our researcher, how we conduct the study case, the successful of a research-based approach to ecosystem management. So from this research, from the implementation of NBS, we can provide the carbon stock and also the valuations into economical value related with the absorb and sink carbon, water regulatory system, the biodiversity is still under investigation, health and recreation, and also land preservation, and also from the timber. But I think this will be the least priority. So, and here are the samples that after at least 24 years conducted this study, how we produce or we provided the data. So from periodic time, like 1997, the cover still at 29.5%, but then the 2020 it's about 72.8% the canopy cover in this area. So the project area itself is about almost 140 hectares. So the RCE 2023 research agenda itself, there are some that I will mention some of the research topic, like peatland revegetation and restoration model for the climate change, and instrumentation of monitoring restoration and impact, and instrumentation of the MRV carbon ecosystem, integrating a participatory approach, and decision support system for ecosystem services articulations, unraveling of local knowledge, local wisdom, and local intelligence related to plant natural resources, the current capacity of the landscape in relation to adequacy of food, water, and energy. And these also the other list of topics that we've been conducting start from this year at least. So peat soil conservation in log and burn peat area, hydrological restoration in degraded peatland area, suitability of tree species for restorations and land cover change, site and landscape scale analysis, forest and land rehabilitation technology, remote sensing, prediction model of carbon flux in targeted ecosystems, rehabilitation technology with appropriate silvicultural technique. And this is the partners that we've been in collaborations with. There are private sectors, universities, and also the ministries and other government institutions. So here, I think I will offer all the participants who've been in this room to have future collaborations with us, the Research Center for Ecology and Ethnobiology. Here, the scope of the research that we can discuss together related with accelerating integrated ecosystem-based research toward the green development for sustainability. So the output one related with the model of ecosystem management, model of circular economy, and tools, instruments for supporting green development. So here, I think the steps to we can collaborations together related with the model for ecosystem, and also model for the circular economy, and the third tools and instrument for supporting the green development. I think that's my presentation. I'll return to Alia. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anand. That was a very concise but quite fruitful and also very informative presentation that you made, so that there's also an invitation for collaboration, especially because Indonesia is now quite aggressive in making the national determined contribution up to 31% and 42% with external contribution, and that we have a goal in 2060 or even before 2060 for the net zero emission or sooner through climate change mitigation and adaptation, especially the natural-based solution concept. So that now, before we begin or continue with the next agenda, I'd like to remind everyone that the question and answer session will be held at the end of the presentation session from our 4 speakers that will be speaking today. And to those of you who want to ask questions, feel free to write it on the question and answer box, and the committee will select 3 questions in stages to be answered by the speakers. However, we welcome the speakers to also answer the questions in the Q&A box. So you can also type when there are questions already there. And souvenirs, don't forget this one. Souvenirs are available for the for the 5 selected inquirers. All right, let's begin our next agenda, which is speaker Dr. Nisa Novita will be speaking about Forest, Carbon and Climate Senior Manager, the Forest, Carbon and Climate Senior Manager of YECAN, who will be providing an in-depth explanation about the results of calculating greenhouse gas emissions in tropical peatlands in Kalimantan. But before Mbak Nisa is speaking to us, before that, let's watch the following video. Let's see it.
Peatlands are one of the world's most unique and valuable ecosystems. In their natural state, they store huge amounts of carbon beneath the surface of the soil. This ecosystem covers less than 3% of the Earth's surface. However, contains twice as much carbon as the world's forests. Tropical peatlands in Indonesia are known as one of the most carbon-dense terrestrial ecosystems on Earth and are continuously under threat. Draining, logging, and conversion to palm oil plantations lead to enormous greenhouse gas emissions to the atmosphere. Policymakers and scientists have suggested that rewetting degraded peatlands in Indonesia would be a cost-effective approach and strategic natural climate solution to reduce carbon emissions and achieve the country's climate commitment. Natural climate solutions, such as rewetting peatlands, clearly form a launchpad towards better climate change mitigation practices. Peatland provides answers for a sustainable Indonesia.
All right, so now without further ado, it will be the time for YECAN's research projects on GHG emissions accounting in tropical peatlands in Kalimantan, which will be presented by Mbak Nisa. Go ahead, Mbak.
Thank you, Ms. Rahma Alia. I appreciate the kind introduction. Good morning, Pak Wahyudi, Pak Agus, Professor Haruni, Dr. Anang, and hello and welcome our offline participants here with me in Bogor, and online participants. Thank you very much for your time. It's really a great pleasure for me that here we can share our work on peatlands. And I'm starting this slide by providing GHG emissions historical baselines from 2000 and to 2020. So this data is taken from the Ministry of Forestry and Environment datasets. Here we can see that the follow sector in the yellow bars and then the peat fire in the blue bars dominated the total greenhouse gas emissions in Indonesia in the last 20 years, even though in the last year, probably in the last 3 years during the La Nina effect, that the energy sector dominated the total national greenhouse gas emissions, while the follow emissions and peat fire are much more less than previous years. And then in the right figure, we can see the description of our forest cover in 2019, where we can see that about 12 million hectares swamp forests, 3 million hectares of mangrove, and it's still dominated by trail and forest ecosystems. I'm trying to actually move this presentation, but seems doesn't work here. Apologize for this technical issue. Okay, please, Mas Iqbal. So for slide number 3, please. Yeah, I think Dr. Nanang, Prof. Wahyudi, and Mbak Alia have highlighted that why peat matters here in Indonesia. Peatlands play an important role in providing various environmental factors, including carbon sequestration, which is really important for climate change mitigations. Thank you, Mbak Alia, for also mentioning our recent paper related to the importance of peatlands on natural climate solution for mitigation strategy in the country. And then other co-benefits beyond carbon are tremendous, including biodiversity hotspot, supporting livelihood communities, and then water regulations. And Indonesia holds a significant proportion of global tropical peatlands carbon stocks, where we know that Indonesia is a home to over a third of world tropical peatlands, but sadly half of them are drained or degraded due to deforestation, degradation, agricultural proposing. But right now, as we will hear from Pak Agus, that our country now is trying and working so hard to restoring degraded peatlands, at least from the last 5 years. Next presentation slide, please. Yeah, so this is our research with BRIN led by Ibu Nurul Silva Lestari, where we assess the peatland deforestation in the last decade using the Ministry of Forestry and Environment datasets. And here we can see that oil palm and shrubs are the major drivers of peat loss during this time frame. And we have about 6.5 million hectares of peat swamp forest in 2009. And then you can see that we lost like a fifth of them only in the last 10 years, and or 25% due to deforestation and degradation, mainly to agricultural, oil palm plantation for sure, plantation forests, and shrubs. So next please, Mas. Here, even though there are kind of like the peat set historical baseline for the peatlands, and we still put our hope here. And recently, we have been working together with previously what we call P3 Sekpi from Ministry of Forestry and Environment, BRIN researchers, scientists from several universities, assessing actually what are the mitigation potential from natural climate solution in Indonesia. Dr. Anang mentioned it's a natural based solution, and I think it's this terminology are probably similar, where we can find or try to assessing the how much actually avoided emissions from land use management, avoided deforestation, degradation, and through restoration in 3 types of ecosystem, including dryland, peatlands, and mangrove. So actually this project was started in 2020. I believe some of you were attended the national webinar in Bogor, January 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And we together define what are the pathways that need to be included in our study from 3 different ecosystems. And then we decided 9 pathways, including avoided deforestation and degradation on dryland, reforestation, sustainable forest management, avoided peat fires, peat restoration, avoided peat decompositions, and also vegetation loss, and also for mangrove ecosystem, both for protection and restoration. And Ms. Alia has mentioned that peatlands have the greatest potential for fulfilling Indonesia climate commitment, where Dr. Anang has also highlighted about the peatlands management, including conservation and restorations, are listed to achieve our Indonesia pollute net sink target by 2030. And here, based on the 10 years data set and refining the emission factor used at the national scale, we found that peat reweighting contributes about a third of and fulfilling NDC target from the pollute sector, while again peatlands has the major contributor for the mitigation potential in total. So this study actually refined the global analysis study conducted by our colleague at the Nature Conservancy from the global analysis and tropical countries. And seems like the natural climate solutions, and particularly from peatlands, are promising to help us dealing with climate change mitigation. Next, please. And then here we understand that, yes, there is an issue in the last 10 or 20 years about the peatland conversion due to the drainage and, of course, fires, particularly during extreme years. And this is a major threat for Indonesian peatland ecosystem, and also a challenge for us to achieve our climate commitment by 2030. And we know that this is a significant contributor for our national greenhouse gas emissions based on the 20 years data set that we've shown from the previous presentation. And here what we are trying to gather, I think, how to conserve and restore peatlands, not only to achieve our emission reduction target, but also we want to work with many stakeholders, and of course with community policymakers and everyone who want to work with us for tackling climate change. And then one of the main highlight that we want to present here is related for the science, where our project is trying to refine the emission factors for peat restoration and also peat conservation related to the greenhouse gas emission and carbon stocks. Next slide, please, Mas. So I'm happy to introduce our Peatlands project. It has been started about 3 years ago, and we are trying to address multidimensional issues actually here, even though it's probably not enough to solve all of the problems. So we are working for peatland reweighting work in West Kalimantan, and some of them are working focusing main for the science work, and also working with community for the implementation and groundwork. And for the science, we are right now have a regular monitoring for greenhouse gas emissions in several land cover types of peatlands, including secondary forest, oil palm plantation, agricultural, and shrubs in West and East Kalimantan. And then we are working with scientists from US universities for peat fire modeling. And this is our hope that we are also working with policymakers, and we want to translating our science work, our groundwork, and it can be useful to develop a better policy for sustainable peatland management. And then the important one, there are many students and community actually have been involved in this project. There are some students from various universities for master degree, postdoctoral, PhD, have been working particularly for greenhouse gas emissions monitoring and carbon stocks ecosystems. And then our new project, we want to develop a prototyping for smart farming for community work in West Kalimantan. And then outside of Indonesia, actually, we also have a science project in Para, Brazil, where we want to assess the emissions due to forest conversion to cattle pastures on peatlands ecosystem. Next, please. So this is our location. We were in mostly in West Kalimantan, in Kapuas Hulu. This area is about 12 hours from Pontianak by driving. But we can see, I think this is the last remaining beautiful intact peatlands in West Kalimantan. And we measure the carbon stocks, radiocarbon dating, and also we are working with community to improve their livelihood, so they can protect the remaining peatlands without any disturbance due to oil palm or other agricultural and other economic purposes. And in Mempawah and Kuburaya, both of the areas are mostly degraded. We have measured our greenhouse gas fluxes more than 1 year, and we are hoping this is a long-term greenhouse gas monitoring from several land cover types. We also conducted carbon stocks ecosystem, above ground, below ground, and we are also working with community livelihood in degraded peatlands, and by providing them training, and hopefully they can assess the market and financial, so they can maintain their smallholder business more sustainable. And then interestingly, in East Kalimantan, we have Muara Siran site. This is an interesting site as well because it's relatively intact, mostly saturated due to mostly this due to the river, Mahakam River effect. And then one side we have Tabalar Muara. This is not peatlands, but mangrove ecosystem. But we also conducted our greenhouse gas emissions monitoring, including CO2, CH4, and as well as the carbon stocks measurements. Next slide, please, Mas. So we applied various methodology for assessing soil greenhouse gas fluxes from soils, water body, stem flux. We have several greenhouse gas emissions analyzers. And for carbon stock, we also assess the above ground and below ground carbon stocks. And we send the samples to BRIN for assessing carbon and nitrogen analysis. And next slide, please. So I would like to provide like preliminary result of our study from January to December last year, and where we monitor water table, total soil respiration, heterotrophic respiration, and methane fluxes. So it seems complicated if you see these figures, but the main highlight that I want to share here, you can see how the reweighting oil palm plantation provide a significant emission reduction for CO2 emissions. You can see here the drain oil palm have the water table about 52 centimeter, while the reweighted oil palm only 44. So it's only about 8 centimeter difference. But in the column, heterotrophic respiration column, you can see the drastic change is about a third of emission reduction for CO2 emissions, with the difference only from 8 centimeter the water table depth. So we can say here that reweighting peat restoration in oil palm plantation just by managing water table provide a promising emission reduction from the degraded peatland ecosystems. However, we cannot ignore the secondary forest here, even though the water table is much deeper compared to drain oil palm and reweighted oil palm. You can see the heterotrophic respiration is much smaller compared to other land use systems. So heterotrophic respiration, yes.
I'm sorry to interfere just a little bit. This is a kind reminder that the time left you have is 1 minute. Please,
all right, I will be like, thank you, Mbak Alia. Okay, next, Mas.
No worries.
All right, so So from our ecosystem carbon stocks analysis, we finally calculated the emission factor using the above ground biomass difference among land cover types, including primary forest, secondary forest, shrubs, and other ecosystem. And finally, we found that the primary forest conversion to shrubs is resulting the highest emission reduction from vegetation loss in the peatlands. Next, Mas. And then the conclusion of the study, peatlands as incredible nature-based solution in Indonesia, and based on more than 1 year data set, actually we found that rewetting drain peatland in oil palm plantation reduced a third of CO2 emissions, but has no effect on methane emissions. And then the call for action is protect and then restore based on our emission factor from various land cover types. And then I'm echoing Dr. Anang's call. We are looking forward for further collaboration on peatlands. Next, Mas. So there are several of our publications, the peer review paper, protocol, and other fact sheet and informations. And then next, Mas. I would like to thanks to our donor and our partner, Bezos Earth Fund, Grantham Foundation, and the Nature Conservancy, and incredible partners here, BRIN, Oregon State University, Stanford University, Tanjung Pura University, and IPB University. And I think this is my last slide. Thank you very much for your time. And back to you, Mbak Alia. Apologize for the delay.
No worries. Thank you so much. That was actually just quite on time, and you sped up in the very last segment of your presentation. Thank you so much once again, Banisa from Yekan. These are great findings on the progress of the Yekan's project in West and East Kalimantan related to peat restoration and conservation research, which is the most strategic natural climate solution path for achieving the NDC in Indonesia. All right, let's now carry on with our next agenda. We already have Mr. Agus Yassin from the National Peatland and Mangrove Restoration Agency, or we usually call it here in Indonesia, BRGM, to share his presentation. Now, the time allocation is still the same, but it's about 15 minutes. Okay, so go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Alia, for the time. Honorable for Mr. Wahyudi Wardoyo from Yekan, Mr. Anang from BRIN, and honorable narasumber and participants. I would like to present my presentations. First of all, I would like to apologize since our heads today he have a meeting with President Joko Widodo, so I will represent BRGM to deliver tropical peatland restoration in Indonesia, and we hope there will be any input for evaluation for a better future collaborations. So to start, this is the condition of Indonesian peatlands. Indonesian peatland is around 13.4 million hectares. With this, Indonesia is a country that has the largest tropical peat in the world. This is the distribution of the peatland, mainly in Sumatra, Kalimantan, and Papua. As Dr. Nisa said before, that drainage is a major threat for peat ecosystem. Here we have, here we have that the peatland already, some of peatland already converted to be plantations and agriculture, and there are massive drainage systems. In 2017, the study in the 400 HPHU, around 170 HPHU have drainage system. The total length of canal in 170 H is reached more than 240,000 kilometers. So because of this drainage system, it can cause forest fire, greenhouse gas emissions, land subsidence, and also biodiversity loss. So this is our problem in Indonesian peatlands. And next, to accelerate these degraded peatlands, Indonesia established Peatland Restoration Agency in 2016, and in 2020, with the Presidential Decree 120, there is a Peatland and Mangrove Restoration Agency Our DATIS facilitates, accelerates peatland restoration and improve community welfare, and also accelerating mangrove rehabilitation in 9 provinces. Our target is 1.2 million hectare for peat restoration and 600,000 hectare for mangrove rehabilitation. So to identify where is degraded peatland, we analyzed by recurrent fire and drainage in protected peatland area. So there is the target of our peatland restoration. This is more than 1.6 million hectare identified in the 7 provinces. The largest is in the Riau, and the second is in the Central Kalimantan. So this is our approach in peatland restorations with 3 R: rewetting, revegetations, and revitalization of local livelihoods. For rewetting itself, we until last year we already built 7,697 units of canal blocking, 184 unit canal backfilling, and more than 14,000 deep wells, more than 2,000 hectare revegetations, and also 1,238 community group that empowered with the alternative livelihoods. We also developed stewardship peat village in 746 villages. This is how we mainstream peatland restorations into village plans. For rewetting is our main strategy to restore the degraded peatland. We build rewetting infrastructure based on the peat functions. In the cultivation functions, this infrastructure aims to manage the water level no more than 0.4 meter below the peat surface. We have a spillway in which the water can still go through, but we put thresholds 0.4 meters so the pits can be utilized by some activities such as agriculture and plantations, but also there is water maintained in the pits. And for the protection functions, because it is to conserve the water, so drainage in these areas will be terminated. We built canal blocking without spillway. So it is permanently block the canal. So the infrastructure built there is without spillway and also canal backfilling, like in the left sides. And this is how we put the canal blocking. We can see here PHU, Peatland Hydrological Unit. There is a dome, and there's a number of canals that connect the dam with the river or to the sea. So this canal is we block this canal by building canal blocking, so it can maintain the water. In some cases, this canal is also used by the people as transporting route. So some canal blocking here modified that the harvest and the traditional goods can travel through this canal blocking. The second strategy is revegetations. Burnt peatland is our priority for revegetation, especially in forest area. Revegetation use endemic plantations such as Galam, Jelutung Rawa, and Pulai Rawa. Sorry. Here you can see some our revegetation progress. You can see that after 3 until 4 years, the plant grow very well with more than 5 meters. We monitor the progress every year and make some maintenance to ensure this revegetation success. And the last R is revitalizations. Revitalization of local livelihoods is our last strategy. It is the adaptations or compensation, because with the infrastructure there is rising water level. So we give some community with the alternate livelihoods. We have on-farm and off-farm program for on farm there is a water basis like fisheries or aquaculture, land basis such as agriculture and livestock and ecosystem services. We also improving the on-farm with post-harvest program, marketing, and access, support market access and capital access. This is our demonstration plots in utilize the peatlands. This is in Ogan Komering Ilir in South Sumatra. Within the area of 2 hectares, we built a closed drainage system. So this is a closed drainage system, and the material from this drainage system can be used as agriculture here, like tomatoes, chilies, banana, pinang, and etc. And in the center of this area, we can plant with endemic plantations such as Blangirang, Jelutung, Jelutung Rawa, Pulai, combined with corn and etc. And in the drainage closed system also can be modified as fisheries such as Toman, Arwan, and Lele, as long as the achieve is suitable for them. So this is our template, and we already built it in some province like in South Sumatra, Jambi, and Central Kalimantan. This is another example of paludiculture with the sago plantations. We plant the sago in the Pulau Padang and Pulau Rangsang in Riau province. The total area is around 365 hectares in the 12 villages, involving 25 community groups with more than 400 people. We started in 2020, and after 3 years, the sago grow very well with life percentage is more than 70%. And because the sago itself, we can harvest after 6 or 8 years. So we also give in-house training for the community, especially for women. So the women trains for the increasing sago products such as noodle, cookies, cakes, and etc. So this is our paludiculture example. In our restoration target also, we develop a stewardship peat village. This is a platform to mainstream peatland management into village plans. There are several activities like peatland restoration and forest fire management, and we deploy a village facilitator in every village that is developed as a stewardship peat village. This facilitator will be facilitate some spatial mapping, participatory, strengthening local institutions, training on peat product, strengthening local knowledge and innovations, involving in integration peatland restoration into village plan, and also monitoring the peatland activities. Until now, there are 746 stewardship peat village in 7 provinces. This is the documentation of how we develop stewardship peat village from the spatial mapping. We made a book of village profile. In this profile, you can find any information related to peatland conditions, how the people depend on the peats, their social economic attributes, and the potential resource in the village. We also facilitating the village regulations and workshop in village planning. We involved in village deliberations on the middle plant village, and also strengthening local innovation and appropriate technology to non-burning land management or PLTB. We also made some peat farmer field school where the local community learn from each other. So we identify local champions, and this farmer will be learn from the local champions. So there will be knowledge transfer between farmers, community good practice, and building strong bonds between the farmer. We also deliver training in using peat product for economic empowerment, such as purun for handcraft, pineapple leaf for natural fiber, natural color, and etc. So this is our activity in stewardship peat village. The last is about monitoring. We have several monitoring tools. This is PRIMS. You can access in prims.brgm.go.id. This is an online web GIS platform that provides our restoration activities in 7 provinces. This is an example of our display dashboard. You can see here in the PRIMS, you can see the hotspot, water level informations, our restoration target area, until where is canal blocking built by us. This is, and you can see the conditions or the picture of our restoration activity in the PRIMS. For monitoring water levels, we have APTMA. APTMA you can access in sipalaga.brgm.go.id. There are around 153 telemetry device installed in pit area to record hydrological informations. These gauges include rainfall sensor, soil moisture sensor, and water level sensor. And from this Sipalaga, from this sensor, we collaborate with BRIN and IPB University to make fire danger rating system. It is a prediction of peatland drought for the next 7 days. So, we can have a better preparations when we can predict the next 7 days in our peatland. And the last, this is our message that this is, you can see that before and after we build the canal blocking. Before in March, there is a less of water and it prone to fire. And after we build canal blocking in September, the water level increased and it started to natural succession in the, and the pit become greener. But in the picture below, we can see that even we build canal blocking and rising the water table, the pit still can be burned. So restoration is not finished just with the physical interventions, physical activities. We have also to manage communities and villages. To doing this, we need participations for any interest stakeholders. So we hope that we all can join together to delivering good message, helping conserve this tropical peatland in Indonesia. I think all for our presentation today. Thank you for the time and for the attentions. I give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Agus. You just provided additional knowledge regarding peat restoration activities in Indonesia, as well as what lessons have been learned and the success as well that have been achieved. Now, I just want to remind everyone that you can also ask questions just on the Q&A column, and the committee will select 3 questions in stages to be answered by the speakers. All right, let us continue with the next speaker. Now, this is the final presentation session. We invite Professor Dr. Haruni Krisnawati, researcher at the Research Center for Ecology and Ethnobiology of BRIN. Another 15 minutes dedicated to you. Go ahead, Professor Haruni.
Thank you, Ms. Alia. Let me to share my screen. Okay, distinguished speakers, Bapak Wahyudi Wardoyo, Dr. Sasha Sofyan, Dr. Anang, Dr. Nisa Novita, and Mas Agus, distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning here in Indonesia, and good afternoon or good evening wherever you are joining online here. In this session, I would like to share about the current tropical peatland research on GHG emission accounting at global and Indonesia. And to start with, I would like to provide a brief overview on the global distribution of peatlands, which is published recently by Global Peatland Assessment. As we all know that peatlands are unique and critical ecosystem that occurring around 3 up to 4% of the planet land surface, but they contains up to 1/3 or around 30 to 40% of the world's soil carbon, which is about twice the amount of carbon found in the world's forest. As you can see here, that the proportional distribution of peatlands is mainly dominated in Asia and in North America, and about 12% of the current peatlands, global peatlands, have been drained and degraded, which is contributing to about 5% of global human-induced GHG emissions. So preserving this peatland ecosystem is critical to achieving the global climate goals. However, peatlands largely underrepresented in NDC. As we can see here, this is a geographical distribution of parties that have peatland in their NDC. From the total number of countries or parties that are known to have peatlands in the global, we have about 148, but only 30% or around 19 countries actually have include peatlands in their NDC. The inclusions ratio actually double between the two cycles of NDC. In the first cycle between 2015 to up to 2019, which is only about 7 countries, and then up to 17 countries, which is make up and within the 2 cycles about 19 countries, but all still remains under 15% of countries with peatlands. And in 2020, peatlands first time mentioned in the Europe, which is the UK, also include peatland in their NDC, and also in the Northern America, which is Canada. This is based on the data made up by FAO and Greifswald Mine Center in 2022. And based on the recent global study conducted by Temix et al. 2022, peatlands store large stock of carbon compared or among the other wetland ecosystem types, which is stored in a biomass and soil. And peatlands are the most carbon efficient ecosystem actually in terms of the carbon stocks per unit area. As you can see here, that annual carbon sequestration of the tropical peatlands is highest, is exceeding the oceanic and other forest ecosystem types. And based on the study, the global study, that after the conversion, after the land use change, a large source of GHG emissions has been released, and peatland alone, as you can see from this graph, estimate to contribute to about 5% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. So the inclusions of peatlands, especially tropical peatlands, in mitigation action is crucial to make it the climate change. And as has been previously mentioned by the former speakers, the conservation, restoration, and sustainable management of tropical peatlands will contribute to climate change mitigation, as well as biodiversity conservation and socio-economic welfare. Why monitoring on tropical peatland is important? As we all agree that tropical peatland we have high carbon density and provide multiple benefits for various important ecosystem services. And this peatlands is actually also diminishing every day, as has been mentioned by earlier Dr. Nisa and the study about the deforestation rate of the peatland, which is due to the serious threat of climate change combined with the pressure of an advancing agricultural frontier, economic activities, growing human population, and infrastructure developments. And converting tropical peatlands forests to other land uses will release very large amount of greenhouse gas GHG to the atmosphere, which is resulted from peat decomposition and burning. So understanding the source and size of historical emission on tropical peatland is important for planning mitigation action, as well as assessing the potential impacts of the land management option on the future emissions. This pie chart here represents how the majority of tropical peatland is occurring open in Southeast Asia, which is Indonesia and Malaysia, contribute to more than 50% of the total tropical peatlands in the world. And this is letting everyone know about the distribution of peatlands in Indonesia based on the update data from Ministry of Agriculture in 2019, that the total area of Indonesian peatlands is about 13.42 million hectares, which is distributed in 3 main islands of Indonesia, which is Sumatra contribute about 53.6%, Kalimantan 33.9%, and in Papua about 22.5%. And how research actually has contributed to the improvement of the GHG emission accounting and reporting. Here we'll show that the research have contributed to the improvement in GHG emission estimation and has been used in the reporting on forest reference emission level and GHG inventory report, and also in the annex of BUR. As we can see here, we saw that on the first report of Indonesian forest reference emission level, especially on the peatland emission calculation, in the former report, we only focus on reporting above ground emissions and also soil organic carbon emission from peat decomposition. But here in the second April report, we just submitted last year, actually we have incorporated another carbon pools, which is significant to peatland. In addition to above ground biomass, we also include below ground biomass and that organic materials emission. And from soil organic carbon emission, we're not just focusing on peat decomposition, but also the result from peat fires. And also in terms of the uncertainty analysis, we improve by adding sort of uncertainty using the improved allometric equations from peatlands and increase sample size, and also applying uncertainty calculation by using Monte Carlo simulation. And here's some of the scope of the study that has been done in Indonesia, ranging from measuring carbon stock, and has been presented previously by Dr. Nisa, and also emission from organic soil on degraded peatlands resulting from peat decomposition and peat fires. And here's some of the study related with carbon assessment on tropical peatland in Indonesia. Actually, several studies has been conducted on peat swamp forests, which include measurement of more complete carbon pools, not only above ground biomass, but also below ground biomass, dead organic matter, and soil organic carbon, which is conducted including in primary intake swamp forests, secondary swamp forests, in oil palm plantations, shrub, and other vegetation types and occurring on peatland. I think Dr. Nisa personally has shared some of the study that's been conducted by Yekan and partners in several areas in Indonesia, and that will contribute to in the improvement of the emission factor resulted from peatlands. here, only some of the example based on the recent study that's been conducted in peat swamp forest in Indonesia, which including about 5 carbon pools. And I think there will be more study will be available, and once they will be available, they will be incorporated into the total analysis of ecosystem carbon stock from peatland. And this is another study that we have been conducting to assess the impact of fire frequency on tropical peatlands in Indonesia. We conduct to review the parameters contributing to peat fire emission estimates as per IPCC guidelines. As we all know that the IPCC guidelines, not many study actually has been conducted in tropical peatlands, and only very limited number of study that has been included in IPCC guidelines. So we would like to fill the gaps by adding more empirical data to improve emission estimate, especially resulted from peatland fire. We can see here that organic material is actually contribute a lot in peat swamp forest fire, and we can see that the dead wood actually account for about 50 to 60% of above ground payment in recently burned peat forest, but also other pool which is called pyrogenic carbons actually also account for about 12% of above ground carbon in repeatedly burned peat forest. So this study will be filling the gap and contribute to the improvement of emission estimate resulted from peat fire, which is previously we only rely on the assumptions taking from the default value from IPCC guidelines. And there's another study that we have been conducted also producing new combustion factor for peat swamp forest. As we know that the IPCC guidelines assume a complete combustion factor, which is with CF value 1, which is oversimplification. And our recent study show that the peat combustion factor, which is actually increased with the depth of peat burn. And yeah, we can see here that how the result from the study that we conducted in peat swamp forest after burning, the combustion factor is quite vary, and it will depend on the depth of peat burn. The GF increase the depth with the depth of peat burn, and it will substantially reduce the emission estimate resulted from Indonesia peat fires. And all the results that we have been conducting first on the previous study, and also of course from our partner from YECAN that also will be contributed to the improvement of the parameters to it. This is one of the component that has been used to estimate the peat fire, and this has been used in our reporting to UNFCCC policy, especially it's been used in forest reference estimation level, and this also used in national greenhouse gas inventory report from forest sector. And all of this sort of information that we have been used is based on the result of the study that's been conducted in tropical peatlands, especially conducted in Indonesia. I think there will be more opportunity for recent study to collaborate on this improvement, as we see that there is some gaps actually for estimating emission from peat decomposition, and that will be opportunity for everyone of research community to contribute to in the improvement to emission estimate for the national greenhouse gas reporting. I think before closing my presentation, would I encourage that finding from the research on carbon assessment and tropical peatlands has provided improvement or provide the novel data that will reduce uncertainty in emission estimation and of course will improve emission reporting. And science through research should be continuously updated to address the data and knowledge gaps and improve the calculation of GHG emission estimation. The important parameters which represent a peatland condition should be continuously updated and incorporated into the GHG emission accountings to support a mitigation action. And of course, applying a appropriate carbon accounting for tropical peatlands will increase the accuracy of GHG emission estimation and of course, the reliability of the GHG inventory and emission reporting. I think that's all my presentation, and thank you. We'll over back to Ms. Alia.
Thank you very much, Prof. Haruni Krishnawati. Now, we heard the current tropical peatland research on GHG emission accounting at global level and in Indonesia from Professor Haruni, and also all the other three presentations. Now, if we circle back from the presentation, it turns out that it is needed quite complex for us to understand, yet at least there has been scientific studies currently carried out both in Indonesia and in other countries to find out the current calculation on the greenhouse gas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, we have heard comprehensive explanations from our four speakers together. And now let us open the question and answer sessions. I've seen some questions on the Q&A box, and the committee and I have selected questions from the box, and we start with three first. Now, I selected this one for Mbak Nisa. Let us just read it out to all of you. The first one: how this kind of nature-based climate action will be measured and contributed to the Indonesia's NDC, which is the net sink in 2030. This is from Ade Rinaldi from April. And there's another question for you, Mbak Nisa. Are the findings from rewetting can be used to evaluate the emission reduction from peatland restoration? Is there any constraint to it? And that one is from Sabarno, Mr. Sabarno from Diameter. All right, so Manisa, I think you can start answering the questions first.
Thank you, Ms. Alia. Thank you, Mas Ade. And yeah, so actually our study has calculated the maximum potential of natural climate solution mitigation actions by considering that all of constraint 100% will be implemented to achieve the Indonesia emission reduction target. And then how it can be transferred and implemented. So it depends on us, I think, not only the policy makers, government or private sectors. So this work need to be implemented on the ground, like pit restoration as BRGM did, for example, or other conservation program. And then after we implement the program, I believe one of the important things that probably sometimes is not taken into account carefully is related to MRV system, monitoring, reporting, and verification. And so we can measure actually how much the emission reduction for our program, for example. So I believe there are also several homework, and YECAN right now is also working for a marginal abatement cost curve analysis, and we want to calculate actually how much the carbon, the price for to reduce 1 ton CO2 equivalent for each pathway. So for the second question, thank you, Subarno. Subarno is actually was a part of our team, and you know the idea of this project, Subarno. And yes, we want to refine the emission factor actually for pit rewetting on tropical peatlands. So that's why we established our permanent long-term GHG monitoring plots in several land use types. And of course, we need more sites on this because most of our sites are located in West Kalimantan right now. And hopefully that our science work, groundwork, and probably with other scientists and other researchers as well, will help Mas Agus and other policymakers to finally did kind of like a review or develop one emission factor at the country level for Indonesia. And right now for our project in West Kalimantan, we are pretty sure that these emission factors from peat restoration effort can be best from our long-term measurement, GHG measurement, in particular for CO2 and CH4 fluxes. And now we are also expanding our research not only for peatlands, mangrove, but also including other greenhouse gas such as N2O, because this is important for agricultural sites such as oil palm plantation due to fertilizations. And thank you so much for your questions.
All right, thank you so much for rounding up for the two questions at once, Mbak Nisa. And now, so the first question slot has been checked and answered. Second one is addressed to Pak Agus from BRGM. So here are the two questions, Pak Agus. The first one, has there been a special mapping for peatlands? Do you have the three aspects in terms of physical, chemical, as well as biological characteristics of the soil? That one is from Nurfianto, Brawijaya University. And the second question is for Pak Agus, is there any preliminary data about tree growth on revegetation area that you can share with the audience? And that one was from Sebastian Persch from the Forest Carbon. Go ahead, Pak Agus.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Alia. For the first question, it's about the government already published inventory regulations with a regulation from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, number 14 in year 2017. In the inventory, we have a method that all the peatland in every 500 meter, we should be identify about the peat depth and also biodiversity, acid level, organic materials, and land use, and etc. So there is, and also water level. So there is certain criteria that can that have to be identified in every 500 meter. So with this inventory, we the government produce a better peat map with a scale of one. With the scale map is 50,000 scale map. So it can be used for the local governments or when they will make spatial planning in the future. So this is what we do that. And because the PHU is around 895 PHU, in the last year it is around 20% of the PHU that's already inventory with this method. So that's for the first, and for the second, about the revegetation, we have data because we monitor the revegetation in every year to determine that the revegetation is success or not, because we have criteria that the revegetation in the first year we plant around 1,100 plantations, and in after 3 years it is classified as the successful revegetation if there is more than 500 plantation in every hectare of revegetation. So we have the data, but I cannot share here because I'm not prepared with those data. But we have the data. Some sites for the revegetation you can see in the Riau in the Sungai Dumai in Sungai Dumai Reserve. In South Sumatra is in the Padang Sugihan Wildlife Reserve, and etc. Maybe that's all for me, Miss Aulia.
All right, Pak Agus, much appreciated for the answers. There were two questions answered at once, and I have the next one to be answered, and this one addressed to Prof. Haruni. So the question is, Prof. Haruni, for peatlands that are categorized as severely damaged or have experienced irreversible drying, what are the management methodologies for restoring these peatlands? And that question is from Nurfianto from Brawijaya University. Go ahead, Prof. Haruni, for the answer.
Thank you, Ms. Alia. Thanks for Mr. Nordianto. Sorry.
Nurfianto.
Nurfianto.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, I can get your question. You are asking about the emission from from peat or restoration.
Yeah. So the question was, for peatlands that are categorized as severely damaged or have experienced irreversible drying, what are the management technologies for restoring these peatlands?
Yes, thank you. I think there will be Mas Pak Agus from BRGM to have experience directly on the ground to respond your questions. But I think based on the technology, the best technology available in the country, I think we can combine the three R that has been mentioned by Pak Agus: restoration, revegetation, and the revitalization, and also rewettings. And it's also, of course, will depend on the severity of the damage or the drying of the peatlands. And in terms of the species, for example, that will also need to match with the condition, the soil condition of the peatlands and the depth, especially for the severity of the peat depths. And I think, yeah, I think the technology is already available, and BRGM and some of the research university, I think from the local university from Rio, they has been implementing some of the technology and restoring the peatlands, and based on the level of the destruction or the disturbance event.
Mm-hmm.
I think this
all right, Bu Haruni.
Respond from your question.
Yes, actually, we can't get enough of you talking. So I have another additional question for you, Prof. Haruni. This one is coming from Indra Januar from Research Center for Ecology and Ethnobiology. So the question is, how do the impacts of shifting environmental variables in future climate change affect the cover of peatlands and also species present in peatlands?
Okay, I think this will be the challenges for us, but sorry, I have a problem with the connection.
Okay.
Sorry.
We can still hear your voice, Prof. Haruni.
Yes.
Would you like to show
can you hear my
presentation
voice?
slides? Yes, we can hear your voice clearly.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Prof. Haruni. Go ahead. Hello,
Yeah.
Prof. Haruni, can you hear us?
Sorry, I may use, sorry.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Prof. Haruni, can you still hear us? Okay, we're still waiting for, rejoining with Prof. Haruni, hopefully with better connection. Now, let me just choose one more question, and this one is addressed to Pak Anang. Pak Anang, are you still here with us? Hello, Pak Anang, are you still here? Yes, okay. Great to have you here. Yeah, Pak Anang, we've got a question for you. Okay, Pak Anang, are you still with us today?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, okay. So I'm going to read out the question for you. How do you manage the cross-sectoral factors in conducting the current rehabilitation programs on peatlands? That will be the question for you, dedicated to Pak Anang, from Prasetya.
So, thank you very much, Alia. And to address the first topic that we have in the news, the number of the movement for this part with the authors from the Minister and after the other institutions and the police right now are to tackle today that we conducted that we conclude with iron as part of our research maybe to have a collaboration with metro. So
Pak Anang, I'm sorry to cut you, but your voice is quite gibberish. We cannot really hear clearly. So could you do a better connection while answering the question? Could you try again?
Yeah. Right now, my voice or still?
It's not very clear, unfortunately. Yeah. Yes, it seems like the connection is not very well at the moment to connect with Pak Anang nor Bu Professor Haruni. But if you have further inquiries or questions, you can always ask the committee so that the speakers or the experts could actually provide with the answers. And once again, I can sense the great enthusiasm through the questions conveyed. Thank you very much. And thank you for the fruitful discussion as well. And the next, before we conclude everything, allow me to summarize several points from today's discussion. Potential of peatland in Kalimantan for global climate change mitigation is very crucial, and Indonesia has 6% of the global NCS mitigation potential and 10% of the tropical wide NCS mitigation potential. 74% of this potential comes from peatlands. If not addressed quickly, climate change could exacerbate the shift to peat swamp forests from significant carbon sinks to GHG sources. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, much appreciated to all of our speakers and participations, as well as participants in the providing great discussion. As mentioned earlier, we'd like to invite you to return to tomorrow's webinar, which will be held at the same time, same channel, at 8:30 to 10 in the morning, Indonesia Western time. And tomorrow, I'm just gonna give a little bit of a spill on who will be the speakers. We will have Dr. Israr Albar, the Deputy Director, Directorate of Land and Forest Fire Management at the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of the Republic of Indonesia. We also will have Andres Schmidt, Assistant Research Professor from Oregon State University, and Alison Hoyt, Assistant Professor from Stanford University. So once again, thank you very much. And I'm hoping that I'll be seeing you again tomorrow, all of you. So moderated by myself, Amalia, we're signing off. Thank you and see you tomorrow. Salam Lestari.
If you don't manage development, you lose nature.
Negeri elok amat ku cinta, tanah tumpah darahku yang mulia, yang ku puja sepanjang masa. Karena airku aman dan makmur, pulau kelapa yang aman subur, sejak dulu kala. Aku bahagia di pandangan, hidup sejahtera di khatulistiwa. Raja percaya juga surya di cakrawala, jauhlah selalu berseri dan indah bermain. Alam indah mana ini tulis jiwa Indonesia.